Hi, I'm Alina from Lakeside Nissan at Paraka. We're celebrating 33 years of being a South Australian family-owned business and 10 years in Paraka. We offer the full range of new Nissan vehicles, a great selection of RAA-approved pre-owned vehicles, spare parts, a comfortable lounge area with free coffee, and express servicing every hour for your convenience. And ask our staff about our loyalty servicing program, which will save you money. We wanted to say thanks to South Australia for your support over the last 10 years. And if you haven't met us, come down and enjoy the difference at Lakeside Nissan.
Thanks for staying with us. Our next guest, an absolute superstar of basketball for the women here in South Australia and around the world. Rachel Sporn joins us. Rach, thanks for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure. How could I refuse the
Well, with an introduction,
What is with today? Libby Hopwood, sensational. Who was that girl, Sarah, blonde bombshell? And now Rachel.
You are the happiest I've ever seen you.
I'm not leaving his desk. He just keeps on getting better.
Mate, I don't want to say anything to you. It's the desk that's the magnet, not you. All right, Rach, let's talk about the Lightning first, then we'll come to you because we want to have a chat about life after basketball. The Lightning a couple of weeks ago looked like it was all over for the Lightning. Years and years of tradition, championships all going down the drain. What was going through your mind at that time?
I just wasn't able to accept that it wouldn't go ahead, Phil, and obviously I was in talks with BSA and we had a working group that I was a committee member of, so I knew, I guess, very up to date with what was happening. So, but within that, there was a 2-week period prior to all this good announcement that we were really concerned, but putting that end date of we need help by this really helped people come out of the woodwork and bring their support.
Was it quiet before that? I remember Bonnie Nudge wrote a story and I talked to him after and he said the day that story came out, which was front page of the Advertiser, he said the phones just ran hot.
Yes.
Prior to that, was there much?
There were talks, but not really from, I guess, us saying we need help. It was more going and trying to source people to help. But that front page story helped us so much because it got so much media attention. So well done, Bonnie Nudge from getting front page. And so there were calls from all over. And obviously, the Motor Accident Commission, thank you so much. And that really got us over the line, and then Bob Jane T-Mart jumped on board, and they're still speaking to 3 or 4 organisations who will hopefully join us as well.
How does it get to that? I mean, to me it would have been an absolute tragedy, not only for women's basketball but for women's junior basketball, because I think in any sport you need to be aiming at that elite level. But how do we get to that?
It's a very good question, Robbie. I just think with having the private ownership with Vince Marino, everyone just rested on their laurels that, he doesn't need help because he's got enough money to support the Lightning on his own. And I think that's the view that everyone sort of took. And because, Vince stepped away, there wasn't, nothing was put in place early enough. And I think people have to stand up and take responsibility for that. These meetings that we're having should have been happening a year ago, not when the season pretty much finished.
Rach, you watched a lot of that, and there was always conflict between Ange playing for the Lightning because Vince owned the team, and I'm not asking you to comment on that, but was Vince taken for granted? Was it very much that, Vince will just solve the problems? And exactly what you said, nothing was done at any stage to try and help him. Nothing was done when he, a couple of times prior even to pulling out, he'd mentioned that, with his health he was getting ready to pull out. Nothing was prepared. Was he not treated as well as perhaps he should have been? Yeah,
you do get that feeling, Phil, and he just had to survive on his own, put there out on his own, run the team, we're just going to use your money, and he was bleeding, absolutely money. I think it was, $500,000 each year it was costing to run the team. And, and he was paying the players very well, and so I think that's the most difficult thing now too, is when you've gone to paying players good money, and that did up it in the league all over. Other teams had to start doing it. And now we've gone down to a shoestring budget. So Tracy York, new coach, has a huge job ahead of her to attract players now. And I think when Jan Sterling had the program, and there wasn't as much money in the league, people wanted to come here because there was a winning culture. Everyone knew it was a great program. We've got Jay Kingy, Carla Boyd, Joe Hill, all came home as soon as they came to Adelaide after the AIS, whereas that hasn't been happening. We haven't been able to keep the Tess Madgens, the Kayla Francis, the Steph Talbot's gone. So we need to get that really great program back and people wanting to come here.
And I think that program you mentioned, those players you mentioned, really you're reaping the rewards of those efforts from a decade plus ago, because it was the respect that was built on that core group of players that now has Motor Accident Commission and other sponsors wanting to be part of it. They actually, and I think it's probably somewhat reassuring to know that they actually always wanted to be part of it, probably, or they cared enough not to let it go.
That's right.
What would have been a tragedy is if it was let go, because once it's gone, it's bloody hard to bring it back.
And that was discussed too, Robbie. It's like, okay, do we just let this season go? You know, are we too late getting the coach, getting the players?
Yeah,
but
no.
that was the point made.
Yep.
Is the money that potentially is there right now, will it be there in 12 months?
Yes.
Probably not.
No.
So, because, you know, not having your brand out there for 12 months hurts, and that's when everyone overtakes you.
Right, if you extend on that, 12 months, the sponsors have come in and saved it for 12 months. What happens now? And you touched on it before, we knew Vince was leaving, perhaps 12 months before we should have done something.
Yes.
Now it's that, thank goodness we've survived this 12 months. Do you feel that the wheels are in motion if Motor Accident Commission pull out at the end of the year and decide to go somewhere else, that there's already something in play?
Well, yes, because like, as Mark Hubbard from BSA said, the hard work begins now. This is when, okay, we've got the money there now, we can, for 2015, 2016, this is when you have to look beyond the 3 to 5 year business plan that needs to be put in place and sourcing more support after this season.
I have a genuine concern, Rach, because my last 2 years coaching the Sixers, we were bankrupt, and so we couldn't recruit players, and the young South Australian kids that wanted to come back and play were getting big offers to play, ridiculous offers to play somewhere else. And as a coach, you've got no alternative, and as a friend to say to them, understand you have to go. South Australia are going to be in that, the Lightning are going to be in that situation, a lot of young players, which means a lot of defeats, not a lot of wins. The public tend not to embrace that. Is there some way that we could get the public to understand this is a long-term venture, not a short-term?
I think Body Nodule really helped with that, and everything you've said is so true, because you're right, we're going to have a very young team. Obviously they'll try and get a couple of experienced imports in, but again on a limited budget. So I hope it is an opportunity for those youngsters in Adelaide, but then it's not going to be a lot of fun for them getting thumped every week. So you want to be competitive, and you want to show the sponsors and your supporters that, look, we can put a competitive team on the floor. But you're right, do they support a team that's getting thrashed every week? Not necessarily. And then it's also looking at a venue. At the moment it has to be Adelaide Arena, because there really isn't anywhere else, because WNBL stipulates that the stadium has to be air conditioned, so Wayville, your Pasadena are not. So I assume at the moment we would play before the Adelaide 36ers.
Could they go to the netball centre? Smaller venue?
That they say now, because of the certain floor, it's too hard to put the basketball backboards to bring them in and out. They've already explored that option.
Yeah, and I hope people understand that they're supporting a sport rather than a team, because that's long term. If you're getting people knowing that they might not be able to put in 10,000 a year, but they might be able to put in a couple of hundred and get a reward for just turning up on the odd occasion during the course of the year. And probably it's going to require a fair bit of lateral thinking.
Yes.
Normally, with all sports that have been around a long time, we've mentioned that you become lazy. Might not be the appropriate word, but you don't become aggressive to survive as you should be. And I think this is a wake up call for the sport. It really is, and hopefully it's a wake up call for all of those people that support the sport over the period of time, that they're needed.
Yeah,
because
when you consider that, when I first moved to Adelaide, we had 3 teams in the National League, like North, Noongar and West. And okay, we weren't getting paid as players, but the clubs themselves were funding their existence. And then we had 3 teams that were competitive. So the talent that we had, that scares me too. Where's all that talent now? Are we losing it to netball? Are we losing it to other sports? Because I just don't think we're promoting and marketing the game well enough. And and it hurts that ABC aren't going to be covering the WNBL. I still can't sort of believe that's happening. So it's like in the 90s when it was just amazing. Gosh, it was good to be part of that. How do we get back to that?
You need to recruit someone like David Koch.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
and I don't mean that disrespectfully to the power there. A lot of people, Keith Thomas down the line, have done a fantastic job, but his profile is the one that seemed to lift that. And while you're talking, I'm trying to think now, I'm going to ask you, can you get someone like David Koch? Who would be the female equivalent to a David Koch?
Well, Rachel Sporn, probably.
Other than Rachel.
You need
she's got enough to do.
You need that national exposure and pull, which she has, obviously, with Sunrise.
Maybe it's the cash cow. But that's what you need. Let's move away from the Lightning for a little while. We'd like to try and give the viewers a chance to listen to people life after sport, because we work with kids and you've got kids and you coach them, and we were the same as kids. We all thought we're going to make a living out of sport, whatever it may be.
Yes.
And we know if it's not cricket, if it's not tennis, not AFL, then you're probably not going to.
No.
So for you, life after basketball, what happened?
So 2004 was when I retired, and so I was a mother of one. I had Taya, who was 2. So I guess having a husband supporting me in Maury, I was able to be pretty much a full-time mum when I did retire, and then I got pregnant and had Cade, so I had 2 children. I worked at, through Brian Sando, I worked at the Wakefield Sports Clinic for a little while before Cade was born, and then I got pregnant with Cade. Simon Moore, who's been another supporter at Everett Trophies, I did his bookkeeping for 7 years. But my most recent job now is Australian Melanoma Research Foundation, so I'm the development executive, and I've been there for 3 years. So this is probably, now become a real passion of mine, and I guess a role that I see myself in for quite a while. Obviously, commentating, as you know, Phil has been a big part of my life as well. 11 years with ABC, lucky enough to go to Beijing and London for the Olympics as well. So it's been, I think what has been helped me with my transition is the diversity of roles that I've had. Being a mum certainly helps with the transition, because when you retire, it's a lot changes, because being an elite athlete is a lot. It's not normality for everyday people when you don't, and once you stop that, the adulation stops, the adrenaline stops, just your life.
I still love you though, don't you? I mean, no, I'm serious. You know that I still love you and adore you. Every time Rachel...
And that would make a difference.
Every time Rachel walks out the front door in the morning, I go, Rachel, with the banners I've got, haven't I?
Funny, because Maury thought it was for him.
Yes, it's helped. Thank you for
my pleasure.
providing me with that adrenaline rush.
I mean, you're right with that though, Rach. Athletes do live in a bubble. And I've said it a lot, that's the term I use. They live in a bubble where they're protected from a lot of things, and suddenly the bubble bursts and they're back in the real world. Was there an adjustment? We see athletes that suffer from depression when it happens. Any of those things occur for you?
Thankfully I didn't. It was only for a 6-month period where I struggled to watch Lightning play, and I wanted to still be out there. But after that, I was fine. I was absolutely fine with them warming up, and glad I wasn't out there. So that was a relief to me. And I think even for males, it can be harder, Phil, because you're not the stay-at-home parent. I found that really helpful, having kids and putting my passion into them. And the mateship, obviously I miss that. I don't miss the training, but I miss the touring. I miss being with my mates and the friendship. That's the hardest thing to give up.
Is coaching not an option then?
No.
Well, and I guess you have to be as passionate about that even more so.
Yeah,
probably.
I've tried it, Robbie, and I don't enjoy
it's not
it.
for you?
No.
I mean, have a look at Rachel. She sounds intelligent. She is intelligent. Why would she coach? Because that's a decision made by someone that isn't intelligent.
Because, and I should say this for everyone watching, before, when Phil started coaching, he had hair very similar to yours. But coaching can do that to you, can't it?
Yeah, I look at the elite coaches at any level, and then I look at AFL and the scrutiny that they're under. And
stress.
I actually sat next to Phil Walsh's wife, Meredith, on the weekend, and she said, it is a happier household if we win. And, even though the Crows played well against Freo, it is tough. And, seeing the pressure on Mark Williams when he was the power coach. And I've coached at junior level, at school level. I'm a good assistant coach. I think I'm assistant coach at the moment to my daughter's team, and I enjoy that role. So going to Melbourne this weekend for the Classic. So no, I know my limitations, and head coach is one of those. I enjoy more doing one-on-one individuals and sort of, I guess, spreading my knowledge and expertise that way.
And unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. We could talk to Rachel for another couple of hours quite easily. That's the end of the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. You can get us on YouTube, of course, Facebook, Twitter. We're across all of that now, thanks to our great floor manager, Justin. Hope you enjoyed the show. Look forward to your company next week, everyone.